Cinderella Skeleton by Robert D. Sansucci. Illustrated by David Catrow. Cinderella Skeleton dwelt in Boneyard Acres near the wood. Third mausoleum on the right. Decayed, decrepit, what a fright. On the door a withered wreath invited guests to rest in peace. It was the pride of the neighborhood. Cinderella Skeleton was everything a ghoul should be. Her build was long and lean and lank. Her dankish hair hung down in hanks. Her nails were yellow, her teeth were green, the ghastliest haunt you've ever seen. Foulest in the land was she. Cinderella Skeleton's stepsisters treated her with scorn. Griselin was small and mean, and firmly packed with spite and spleen. Tall bony Jane, a scatterbrain, was just as vile and twice as vain. They worked Cinderella from dusk till morn. Cinderella Skeleton, it seemed her tasks were never done. She hung up cobwebs every place, arranged dead flowers in a vase, littered the floor with dust and leaves, fed the bats beneath the eaves. She had no time for rest or fun. Cinderella Skeleton's stepsisters dressed in fancy clothes, but she had only hand-me-downs, the others worn and tattered gowns. Her shoes were worn-out tops and soles. In fact, they were so full of holes, they showed off all her bony toes. Cinderella Skeleton asked for help with household chores, but stepmother Screech began to shout.
"You're lucky I don't throw you out. My girls are gems, you're common clay. How dare you even think that they should streak the windows or strew the floors?"
Cinderella Skeleton, more disappointment lay ahead. Prince Charnel summoned one and all to his frightfully famous Halloween ball. When Cinderella begged to go, her stepmother sneered and told her,
"No, you'll stay at home and work instead."
Cinderella Skeleton watched the others leave in a hearse, Screech in mournful bombazine, her girls in mildew green sateen. Then Cinderella made this vow,
"I'll get to the prince's ball somehow. I'm taking action, for better or worse."
Cinderella Skeleton, off she marched without delay to the good witch in the wood beyond, who cast kind spells with a generous wand. The witch heard Cinderella's plea, then nodded, saying,
"Bring me some things I need, and right away."
Cinderella Skeleton located what the witch required: a jack-o'-lantern, fiery-eyed, 6 rats in a trap held locked inside, 2 bats asleep in wings wrapped tight, a cat as black as moonless night, exactly as the witch desired. Cinderella Skeleton saw witch touch wand tip-tap to all. The pumpkin turned to a funeral wagon, the rats to nightmares, part horse, part dragon, the bats to footmen at the ready, the cat to driver holding steady, the steeds who'd speed her to the ball.
"Cinderella Skeleton,"
the witch exclaimed,
"you need new clothes."
Her wand flashed magic to replace Cinderella's rags with a gown of lace, trimmed in silky ribbons and bows, while each worn shoe that showed her toes became a slipper with a satin rose. Cinderella Skeleton was eager to be on her way, but the good witch said,
"Before you go, there's one important thing to know. You must return before the morning. If you fail to heed my warning, your joy will fade at break of day."
Cinderella Skeleton reached the ball and caused a stir. The guests all turned to stare at where she stood at the top of the palace stair. As she swept down, she heard the buzz of everyone wondering who she was. Then Prince Charnel bowed to her. Cinderella Skeleton heard Charnel say,
"Your beauty burns like bonfires ablaze at night. Your brightness fills me with delight. Dance with me, lady, I implore."
She smiled. He led her to the floor, where they waltzed with graceful dips and turns. Cinderella Skeleton, gazing into Charnel's eyes, was so in love she was unaware of each hateful murmur and baleful glare that Screech, Bony Jane, and Grisseline aimed at the lovers' tender scene. She danced till dawn first lit the skies. Cinderella Skeleton recalled too late the witch's warning. She broke from Charnel's dear embrace and hurried to escape the place. Charnel cried,
"You're my answered prayer!"
but Cinderella fled down the stair, distressed how near it was to morning. Cinderella Skeleton, her haste as haste will, brought mishap. As she ran for her waiting carriage, pursuing Prince, shouting offers of marriage, she stumbled once, giving Charnel time to grab her foot and cry, "You're mine!" Then off her foot came with a snap. Cinderella Skeleton, ignoring the thump of her footless stump, reached her coach and cried,
"Away! I must be home by break of day!"
They raced pell-mell past the palace gate. The prince kept pleading,
"Lady, wait!"
in his hand a foot, in his throat a lump. Cinderella Skeleton, through near dawn her nightmares sped, but morning caught them in mid-flight. Coach shrank to pumpkin in the light. Cats, rats, and bats skittered, flittered away. Ragged and limping she faced the day, her heart still full, though the magic had fled. Cinderella Skeleton, her life grew day by day more grim. Her family worked her without rest. They knew Prince Charnel's mystery guest. She drudged but halfway through some chore. She'd dream she was on the dancing floor, as Charnel asked her to waltz with him. Cinderella Skeleton, her image filled the prince's mind. His days and nights turned to a blur, whirling round memories of her. So love-lorn Charnel vowed, "I'll start a search for the one who stole my heart. She must be somewhere I can find. Cinderella Skeleton, until I find you, I will not rest," vowed Prince Charnel, who traveled every place with her slippered foot in a velvet case. But no one Duchess Milkmaid Crone could match foot bone to ankle bone. Each snapped a foot off for the test. Cinderella Skeleton, locked up when Charnel came to call, Screech pulled her girl's feet off, 1, 2, saying,
"Wire or glue, you're good as new. Surely it's worth this slight distress for the chance to be a true princess. Now hurry, the prince is in the hall."
Cinderella Skeleton pricked the lock with her longish pin. She heard Charnel's voice, his gentle tones, drowned by her stepsister's wails and moans. Bony Jane's ankle was too large and thick, and Grisseline's thin as a weathered stick. Then Cinderella came limping in. Cinderella Skeleton, while everyone stared wide-eyed, she bowed to Charnel with this request.
"Please, let me take your marriage test."
Her foot bones snapped on and held fast. Charnel shouted,
"A match at last! Here is my promised princess bride. Cinderella Skeleton, the rarest gem the world has seen. Your gleaming skull and burnished bones, your teeth like polished kidney stones, your dampish silks and dankish hair, There's nothing like you anywhere. You make each day a Halloween.
Cinderella Skeleton soon was married to her prince, and they stayed happy ever after, their kingdom filled with love and laughter. Screech, Grisling, and Bony Jane just shriveled with envy and shrank to dust, and no one's seen or missed them since. The end.